Ladies and gentlemen, your sweet Zionist Prince Tal, the traveling clad, coming to live from Israel. Today we're looking at a clip from Megyn Kelly. Let's take a look.
And then there's Israel and the return of the hostages, which still include Americans.
Right.
Supposedly we're going to get 3 Americans back in the first tranche, the first phase of this hostage deal. Do you believe we will? And what are we going to do if we don't?
Well, I expect we will, because that's the agreement that was made. And but the core problem here remains, and that is ultimately, as long as there is an entity like Hamas, whose express purpose is the destruction of the Jewish state, who is willing to commit horrifying atrocities against civilians, against teenage girls at a concert, and do the things that they've done, and take hostage for 1.5 years babies and elderly, and murder, and all the things that they did. That's a threat to Israel's national security. What country in the world can be expected to live alongside an enemy armed, capable, and willing of committing horrifying atrocities? You can't.
It's awful.
So I think that the ceasefire is important because it brought an end to some of the destruction and certainly allowed hostages to be freed at an extraordinary cost. I mean, we're talking about a ratio of 1 to, you get a teenage hostage in exchange for 250 killers, Hamas killers that are released from prison. So just think about how unfair that trade is. But it tells you how much, we value life compared to what the other side, the Hamas animals, view this. Now, that said, the real challenge here is going to be what happens when the ceasefire period expires. Who's going to govern Gaza? Who's going to rebuild Gaza? Who's going to be in charge of Gaza? Because if the people who are in charge of Gaza are the same guys that created October 7th, then we still have the same problem.
Past is prologue.
It is. And so now the good news in the region is, in Lebanon, we have a government that hopefully will become more powerful than Hezbollah in the Lebanese government, and there's a ceasefire that was extended there that ultimately will lead to that. In Syria, a group has taken over. These are not guys that would necessarily pass an FBI background check per se.
No, would not be coming over for Sunday dinner.
But if there's an opportunity in Syria, if there is an opportunity in Syria to create a more stable place than what we've had historically, especially under Assad, where Iran and Russia dominated and where ISIS operated with impunity, we need to pursue that opportunity and see where that leads. And if you have a region in which you have a more stable Syria, a more stable Lebanon where Hezbollah is not able to do the things it does on behalf of Iran, a weakened Iran, who's now lost all of these proxies, it now opens the door to things like a deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel, which would change the dynamic of the region. And then ultimately, not make easy, but make easier resolving some of these challenges that we face with the Palestinian question, and in particular with the Gaza question. So there's a lot of work to be done there. None of it is certain. All of it is hard, but...
Okay, well, I just want to say, hey, Marco, te amo mucho, hombre. Guys, ironically enough, I got to touch on something real quick. I've actually been in the same room as both of these individuals before. Isn't that crazy? Give you guys a little short story before we get into my thing. When I was doing travel vlogs years ago, I was a Google ambassador, and I got invited to the movie premiere of Detective Pikachu, to the red carpet event on in the middle of Times Square, and Megyn Kelly was there, so I got to meet Megyn Kelly. And Marco Rubio, if you guys don't know who he is,
and then there's Israel.
He is the current governor of Florida, I believe, and he was a senator for a long time. He's super pro-Israel Zionist. I've seen him before in person as well at a very Jewish-heavy Israel event. And I've seen him speak in front of my own very eyes, just a few meters away. He's always been a really good friend of Israel. I know that people have different opinions on him because he's a politician. He's a career politician. He's been in politics for a very, very long time. I want to replay just something that I thought was the most interesting thing from the end of his speech here.
Able to do the things it does on behalf of Iran. A weakened Iran, who's now lost all of these proxies. It now opens the door to things like a deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel, which would change the dynamic of the region. And then ultimately, not make easy, but make easier resolving some of these challenges that we face with the Palestinian question, and in particular with the Gaza question. So there's a lot of work to be done there. None of it is certain. All of it is hard. But
so that's the reality. None of it is certain. All of it is hard. And I think taking the Bibi Netanyahu approach of going around, circumnavigating around the Palestinians to get to peace is the best decision. By the way, just a quick heads up, if you guys don't mind checking out thetravelingclat.com down below in the description, buying some of my merchandise like this beautiful shirt with my logo, my Dodo logo. You can get hats like that beautiful one over there. You can get stickers like this one or tons of merch. I come out with cool designs that are pretty Zionist all the time. But yes, Marco Rubio is absolutely correct. None of this is certain. We can't tell exactly what's going on and how things are going to play out, especially after the ceasefire. It's to be seen. I do think that it's probably very necessary for us to go back to fighting unless some sort of agreement with Trump and Netanyahu can be made where Gazans are actually taken out of Gaza so we can help rehabilitate the area and probably resettle it. Because it's the only way I see us being able to quell the extremism there. But I don't know. I don't even really know if that's a solution. Everything is uncertain right now, and we can only hope that Lebanon actually chooses to get its shit together and step away from Iranian extremism to get to a future of peace between Israel and Lebanon. We can only hope. Anyways, I appreciate Megyn Kelly and Marco Rubio very much, and I appreciate you guys so much for going to thetravelingclad.com and buying some merchandise to support the channel and also watching this video. I love you guys a long time. Thank you for supporting me so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, class. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.